Infinite order.
O-M-G.
Infinite order is something that we're going to go into because I already did infinite vector dilemma. So what I'm going to do is the exact opposite. The opposite of infinite vector dilemma, meaning we have a conflict, meaning like there is literally infinite space inside of any point. Like if this square is a point, you can infinitely zoom in to the next point, and you can infinitely zoom out to the next point. You just create hypothetical positions, and this software right here that's in the browser showcases it pretty well, where you can just keep zooming and zooming and zooming forever, right? So infinite vector order is going to need some prerequisite knowledge, and if you go to omgbomber.com and you check out infinite vector dilemma, in this video you can get a decent foundation of knowledge on what I'm going to go over today. But for those of you that are more advanced, stick around. I'm going to try to explain a little bit about infinite vector order. This app right here is an example of like a finite infinite vector order in a way. It's actually like a graph. It uses graphing equations and code in order to kind of make a small infinity-plex in a way where you can zoom out to the maximum, you can zoom into the maximum, but honestly you could even do this one better and have it actually in infinity contained and just keep scrolling forever. This is a really good example that there's infinite points inside of any point. That's a problem in a lot of worldviews, a lot of computation, a lot of real world design, because we kind of hit E equals MC squared in a way. E equals MC squared doesn't necessarily have to be the exact energy value. In fact, it's more of like a metaphor in a way where like energy can actually equal anything in that graphing idea that Einstein was trying to portray of E equals MC squared, where it's always the speed of light squared in every single vector, meaning we are like infinitely supermassive, or accessing a non-logical universe, or accessing a virtual universe in a way. And that was one of Einstein's ultimatums, is like that universe is real no matter what. But that's an example of infinite vector order. And what I really want to talk about is infinite vector order comes down to reorder, or re-God, or simulation, resimulation, recreationism, creating creation from itself. And I've already went over this before in other videos as well. If you scroll down to like the Holy Grail, when I talk about the Holy Grail, I'm going to use the words from that video as well. So you might need some prereq from that to understand Holy Grail as well. But basically, this right here is our recreationism. It's just a 2D representation of our knowledge of the universe. When there's infinite infinities all over the place, our knowledge can never be, complete. But when you get to a certain point, we can constantly increase outwards and grow our knowledge. This is infinite vector order, or reorder. You can constantly be more and more and more and more. Now, there's other dilemmas at play. Is reorder source 1 and reorder source 2. These are infinite non-parallel extrapolations of the universe, or finite non-parallel, or if you zoom out, they're roughly parallel because they're not way over here or way over here or way over there. It depends on how you portray them. They're in the moment, they're just separate and different, and they might be classmates. Like they could be relatively anything. Vector order is how we do everything. It's how I'm talking to you right now. It's how the internet works. It's how video games work. Infinite vector order is one of the most important sciences in the world. Same thing as infinite vector dilemma. Both of these sciences simultaneously coexist, and theoretically, some people might say, shouldn't even say theoretically, some people might disagree and say they anti each other completely. You have to pick one. And really, that's not the case. They actually are two things that seem like they would be antis, but both coexist fundamentally relative to the laws of four-dimensional space-time. Right? And it depends on how you speak it out loud in a way too, because infinite vector order never is gonna be like everything. It can't be everything because of the idea I was just showing you. Here is if you select this point right here and the bit you want to move is in this point, well, there's infinite bits inside of that bit forever. It never stops. Now, what if somebody is reorder 3? They have everything you have and everything they have. They were here before you, knew you were going to exist with their massive knowledge that you haven't learned yet about how consciousness exists and operates. They're arguably the reorderist of the three, right? Wrong. There is always still this doubt here. That's the vector dilemma. So for a moment there, I might have tricked you into believing that you can be captured in code by R3, right? We'll call this one R4 because R4 is realistic. R3 is not realistic. R3 is not realistic because of infinite vector dilemma. R3 can only assume that it has complete and utter knowledge, omniscience, and dominance over R1 and R2. And even R4 at this point. Right? R3 can actually only assume that. But the thing is the free will in each and every single moment is always outside of R3 at the same time. So R3 can actually say this sector right here is gray space, right? This gray space is where your free will kind of resides. Gray space is like you can't have it, but you can assume some of it and you can build some of it. So like this bottom space is like in R4's territory, right? And R3 we said does not exist. It's not real. So this upper space of R2, right, is still unextrapolated by R4, a real thing, and extrapolated by R3, a false thing, right? And why is that? Why does it not have that? It's because you can move in any single moment in any single way, and so can every single person everywhere upon you. So you can't fully know R3. I mean, R3 can't fully know R2 and R1 or R4 or itself. It can only do that up to a point of the infinity contained. You can only contain infinity by 0%, is the law. All right? And that's not up for you to debate. You can't actually clear out mass from these vectors because of infinite vector dilemma. It's a tesseract plex flaw. Tesseract plexes are eyeballs, basically. If you have infinite eyeballs all looking at this point right here, I just drew, it's more of like a line. This guy right here. It doesn't matter because you can only be certain up to 0% that you cleared out that vector. Even if you take this ball and shoot it through here, you cannot assume that you moved that out of that vector. You can remove 100% to all eyes that you've ever allied with ever of this out of that vector, so it does not exist to you. But no matter what, inside of that vector can be unexplored microvectors of operation. Meaning, you will say this, that doesn't mean anything. Now, here's where the prerequisite knowledge comes in. Those of you that watch Destroy the Universe every day to achieve immortality, I was talking about scale, micro recreations of the universe. Now you would go, well, that's not ever gonna work because it's too small. No, actually, this dot right here could hold the entire universe in exact perfect replica scale to this. This entire screen right here can be that square. Perfectly, down to the perfect, every single thing. Not only that, we can take operating systems from here and move them to smaller operating systems. Okay, and if you don't believe in that, well, then you can't upgrade yourself. You can't grow. You can't eat. To get bigger. Okay? But you can. And not only that, some of us are blind. And that's curable. Some of us get links into our ears, into our brains. We get computer aided help straight to our central nervous system. Okay, no matter what, we can shrink down to a micro replica of the universe. Okay, and that's what Destroy the Universe every day to achieve immortality meant. All right, it meant this. That is actually an example of infinite vector order. That's assuming there is no root smallest mass. No root smallest mass is also equals MC squared. So basically, like, almost some of the biggest scientists in the world are all kind of preaching this, what I'm talking about, what I'm teaching. And then at the same time, like, you look these kind of things up, it's like, sure, that proof infinite vector spaces are elementary. Yeah, like, of course there is. You don't really get a lot of really good information. You go and Google it up. Infinite vector order. Okay, that doesn't mean much, right? To you, to a lot of people. But at the end of the day, the thing is free will. I wanted to talk about gray space. This gray space, unextrapolated space from R4. I want to talk about this before I get off. Because what I want to do is I want to go and order this thumbnail here for the video, so then you guys have something nice to look at before you click on my screen. But I want to talk about this, as they say gray matter is in our brain, and when you're younger, you actually think it's just the color gray in your brain. It's not that. It's actually what I'm talking about right now. Is you have light matter and you have dark matter. Your brain is a mixture of both. So there's dark matter all over the place. Matter that's moving so fast that you can't extrapolate it. Nobody can extrapolate it. It's so deeply embedded into infinite vector order that nobody has the root X-ray equivalent to break the clockwork, that which is the operating system of your soul and your brain. Right? You don't have that. It's not a real thing. You didn't create that yet. You don't have enough power for that yet. You'd be talking about harnessing stars first. Okay? Not necessarily. It depends on like what level of consciousness you are. Like there's going to be different kinds. We're going to be talking about R1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing, right? R1 would arguably be easier to capture kinetically, but not necessarily. R1 could have the smallest point out of any being ever. We're talking about infinite randomness right now. Like randomly generating beings are like one of the largest problems to solve in today's society, is because you basically have to sit there and run tesseract plex after tesseract plex, like basically CAT scan, but more than CAT scan. And then not only that, you'd have to know that they need this disorder cured. Like if you want to cure blindness, you actually need to report that you're blind first. Who would have thought? Obviously. And it's going to take a long time for somebody to tesseract plex just your sight. Tesseract plex means they're going to find the root of your sight and the problem with it with natural decoherent like data. So just by you living in this world today, you're getting captured by all of these different kind of big brothers, and you don't really know about it. But once you consent to a doctor, they can actually go in and start to use your personal data in order to try and heal you. Especially some of the bigger conglomerations of private doctors, people that are going to do, what it takes to restore your sight, to cure you, to change you, to make you not ail to that ailment. And that's a very hard task to do, because you have to, it's not just CAT scan. You're talking about micro vector order, right? And you're talking about infinity plex. You're talking about non-local souls too, possibly. Like this person could be running like an auric based, soul, long range remote control, or even medium or small range remote control. You could literally find their hearing outside of their body in like an auric standpoint. It could be a resonant auric operating system, which is actually how we're speaking and how we're hearing in a way, is we're using resonant 4D encryption, decryption. Our larynx and our ears are actually 4D wave decryptors, and they are resonant. They're tesseracts. Your larynx is a tesseract. Your larynx is more of like a crystal, but it's still a tesseract. And so are your ears. Your ears are a tesseract. Your eyes are a tesseract. Your feelings are a tesseract. Everything about you is not just a tesseract, but a tesseract is like one of the most important things to understand in the world. Is make sure you check out this video here. Understanding tesseract. Because the tesseract is seriously what causes terrorism, what causes internet crimes, which causes, Jesus healing anything. It causes Jesus level magic. It causes God level magic. It heals you. It cures you from cancer. It does everything. The tesseract is the fundamental foundation to everything. If you don't know where the problem is, you might, just because you have pain in a region doesn't mean that it's correct. You could have a feeling plex virus in your body, and they could cut into you and find nothing, find that you're perfectly intact, and then sew you back up. Like, what happened here? That's nothing was wrong there, because there's such things as viruses. Viruses code mutant mass, RNA, DNA sequences, and it tells your body to do things. Your body reads it, it goes, ship that straight to the brain center here. And then it does. And then it reads the next part. Cause pain in this center here. Well, really, you had a blood-borne bacteria flying around in your blood, making random code that it shouldn't have, because it's a virus. That's what viruses do. That's what Corona was. Coronavirus did exactly this. But I'm getting on a rant. I'm not getting anywhere really with what I want to talk about. I already kind of covered a lot of this in my last video, And I just wanted to put another one down, you know, calling it exactly what it is, infinite vector order. I really wanted to this and make sure that you guys have a good grasp on the infinite vector order. So yeah, maybe I'll take a picture of put this in here. So I got a little bit of work to do. Thank y'all for watching. You guys have a wonderful day.
OMG.